All right, well, very serious topic here, but we're going to talk about how play helps this. Children in the hospital face stressful, potentially traumatic events on the daily basis. These events can range from getting their blood pressure checked, something as simple as that, or getting a major diagnosis like cancer. So it's often said that play is the work of children. And here to tell us why it is so essential to the physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, all of it, especially for kids in the hospital. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian Saletti. Really appreciate it. You've been at this for 15 years at CHKD.
That's correct.
So tell us, how do you play with a child that has so many physical limitations depending on their diagnosis?
Oh, there's all different kinds of things that we could do in the hospital. And I do have to give a shout out to the Child Life staff at CHKD. We all do such tremendous things for these kids when they come in. Basically, you know, we do an assessment, you know, based upon their age and their background. We kind of meet with the family, you know, head on when they first get into the hospital to see, you know, have they ever been in a hospital before? Is this their first time? Have they had any negative experiences prior to this, you know, to this date? And if we know that they've had any negative experiences, we can kind of work off of that and kind of go from there and see where they're at developmentally, you know, age-wise, and base our activities, you know, kind of around those factors right there.
So what do you see that it does for them? How does it change their day in the hospital?
Dramatically. We know that kids, they love to play. That's their work.
Right.
And, you know, they often relate to us how they're coping with the hospital through their play.
Interesting.
So it could
give us an example.
So we do medical play with the kids. So maybe they've had an IV started on them, or maybe they are getting ready to go for surgery. So we could do medical play with actual, you know, supplies from the hospital, and we could do play, you know, figuring out where they are, you know, in their coping strategies. You know, working with the materials that they're going to see. So maybe they've had an IV started. So we would go ahead and get some Band-Aids, get a tourniquet, and show them all those supplies and let them, you know, have at the play, kind of let them take the lead and see where they are, you know, in their coping. And from there, we can kind of gauge, okay, they're doing okay with the IV start, so we can move forward with things, or they're having a little bit of a trouble.
Let's right on that, just to keep talking on that. How does this play experience direct what the doctors do next? It
impacts it in a big way, because if we know that the child is having a struggle with that play, then we can go back to the medical team and relay that to the doctors and the nurses and say to them, hey, we've noticed that this young child has had some difficulties with this play. They're exhibiting some behaviors that we think could be some red flags. So we're going to go ahead and try and you know, carry out some techniques as Child Life that, you know, that we can do with them, so that when they get to the procedure, everybody's hopefully on the same page. You know, we involve the parents, you know, the nurses and the doctors. Everybody gets on the same page, so that when we get to the procedure, no one's really caught off guard.
Thank you, Brian. That's definitely a good takeaway for all parents, that don't disregard the play. It's just as part of them as anything else.
All right. You know, we do a lot of other things. We do outreach. You know, we get involved in the run walk. You know, St. Baldrick's Day is coming up this weekend, so we do a lot of other outreach projects.
We will be there for that. All right, guys, if you need any other information on this interview, it's online, 13newsnow.com. We'll be right back.